much for joining me again this morning for these leadership lessons with Dr. Stanley Maposa. My name is Stanley Maposa, and I'm going to be discussing with you today my book, which is called Leadership in Principle and in Practice. And I promise that at the end of this session today, I'll be giving away 2 books to those people that have consistently been following us and liking and commenting on the page. So if you are there, you are up for a grab. To get a book sent to you, you need to just give me your contacts and where you are located, and you'll find ways to get the book to you. So in this book we have 12 chapters that we are discussing. 12 chapters that we are discussing. I usually write about 10, 11, 12 is my maximum chapters. Primarily because I understand that we are dealing with people that are busy, and therefore there is no need to write a thesis of 200 words. You need to write something that people can read quickly and finish within a few hours. I usually write for policymakers, I write for high-level people, that when you are flying between Cape Town and Johannesburg and you are sitting there, you'll be able to read this book and finish it. I'm not writing another Bible that has 66 books inside and a number of chapters. So I just write to appetize so that you can read more on these matters and research more on these matters. And if you need a seminar in your church, in your organization, in your workplace, then we can come there and begin to give you details of these materials that we are researching here and we are discussing in this book. The first chapter in this book talks about the overview of leadership. And in chapter 1 we answer the question, what is leadership? Through a lot of research material by John Maxwell, Dean, 2006, and other writers. And also going into the Word of God, Numbers, and a lot of other scriptures, we define what leadership is. Primarily, I strongly believe leadership is 4 things. It is positive influence, it is service, it is solving problems, it is building potential in other people, and it is also changing the status quo. So that's leadership. So if you don't do those things and you are in leadership, then I think you need to revise your leadership, because leadership must address those particular things. I started off by saying it's positive influence. It's not just influence, because there are a lot of people that have influence. Even robbers and thieves have influence, but that's not leadership. So leadership that we require, leadership that is positive, is influencing people for the positive. And there are certain words that are associated with leadership that I describe in chapter 1 that include integrity. Integrity is the sameness in you, whether it's at night and during the day, you are the same person. Integrity comes from the word integration, so that the two things integrate or are the same. What you say today is what you will still say tomorrow. What you say in the public is what you will still say in the private, or what you will do, for example. So that's integrity. And the other word that describes leadership very well is courage. Leaders should be courageous. Leadership should come out from the crowd and be courageous. Don't aim for the bottom. Aim for the top, because the bottom is already overcrowded. So leaders move out of the crowd, and they are courageous, and they confront issues and say, let this be done, let the status quo be changed, let this thing not be done, and they speak out. They are not silenced by situations and circumstances. You know people that participated in the liberation struggle, the Mandelas of this world and others, that were so courageous that they confronted the apartheid system for more than 27 years. This man was in prison and was so courageous. There are many others that I cannot quote here now, but courage is quite important for leadership. Jesus was also courageous. the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the tax collectors, and all those people were really a thorn in the flesh. But Jesus was so courageous to the extent that he went even to the cross to die for my sins and your sins. And that's leadership. The other word that describes leadership is vision. The Bible says where there is no vision, people perish, or people cast restraint. People are not organized. They run amok like wild donkeys if there is no vision. So vision tames, and leadership brings vision that tames the situation, that tames people. And without vision, we are not going anywhere. The danger that Helen Keller, one of a blind artist, said, the danger of a human being is that there are people that have eyes but they have no vision. They can see but they have no vision. So vision is something that is beyond just being able to see using your natural eyes. And that's what leaders should have, and that's what leadership is about. And the last thing about leadership in chapter 1 is persistency. We describe in chapter 1 that when you are persistent, when you are consistent in what you do, then you are a leader. Don't be a fly-by-night. You are there today, you are not there tomorrow. You are hot today, you are cold tomorrow. You are in today, you are out tomorrow. You agree today, you are yes today, you are not tomorrow. But persistency and consistency, it may start small, it may not be visible when you start, but you will push on until it's visible. That's chapter 1 for you. You'll find out more on that chapter. I'm just giving you an overview. Then chapter number 2, we discuss what leadership is not. Because most of the time we want to know what it is, and we don't want to know what is not leadership. And in that we discuss in that chapter 2 that leadership is not you. So don't say when we are talking about leadership, it's you as a person. And secondly, leadership is not power. It's not about power. Don't go around saying, I have power, therefore I'm a leader. Or it's me, therefore I'm a leader. It's power, therefore I'm a leader. And cry for power. And I've always said there are people that were great leaders, even if they didn't have enough power, even if they were not number one. And I give an example all the time about Joseph. He was not number one all the time. In his family, he was the last born. When he got to Potiphar's home, he was number 2 after Potiphar. When he got to the prison, I don't know what number he was. And when he got out of prison, he was number 2. But he was so influential to rule Egypt. So it's not about power. It's not about number 1. Everybody wants to be number 1. They will be always number 1. But you can still lead where you are. So leadership is not power. Leadership is also not instructions and controlling others. Other people think because instructions are coming from me, I'm controlling others, I'm backing instructions, I say jump and they ask me how high. Then therefore that makes me a leader. It is not leadership. Leadership is also not doing everything. Because you are doing everything in the organization, you are doing everything in the church, you play drums, you preach, you are MC, you you're on, then you think that defines leadership. No. Leadership is not doing everything. Leadership is not doing all the communication, that all the communication comes from you, all the communication must have your signature, all the communication must have your name, and if that happens, then you are a leader. You'll be surprised that other people whose signature is in the communication didn't even write that. They are not even leaders. They don't even know the content of that. So leadership really is not about doing all the communication. Leadership is not feeling confident. Some people say I'm a leader because I feel confident, I feel better, I feel confident than others. Others are not confident, therefore I'm the most confident in this group, therefore that makes me a leader. No, it's not. Leadership is also not having all the answers. You can't say you have all the answers. And if people want to ask any questions, they ask from you, you have all the answers. Every time you are asked, you know it all. I am sorry, that's not leadership. Leadership is also not demeaning others. It's not demeaning others or despising others or looking down upon others, treating others as if they are nothing, demeaning other people. Because you are a leader, everybody else must jump, everybody else must run when they see you, everybody else must kneel when they see you, everybody must cry even if they don't want to cry, everybody must laugh even if they are not happy. You demean people, you look down on people, you insult people in public, even those that are older than you, even those that have husbands and wives in your church, in your organization. You just humiliate them because you think that makes you a leader. You think that makes you a leader when you humiliate your maid and you ask her to wash those clothes that you don't want to wash, those clothes that you must wash yourself. You demean other people. That's not leadership. Finally, leadership is not taking all the credit. When something has been done, sometimes give credit where it is due. Give credit to your employees, your staff that have been doing the work all day and you are not there. Yes, they are doing it for you because you are a leader, but acknowledge them. Thank them openly and say, this work would not have happened if Peter was not there. This work would not have happened if John, if Tandabantu was not there. Don't just say, oh, I'm looking good. Hey, it's good. The meeting has been good. And you take all the glory and the credit to yourself and you think that's leadership. That is not leadership. And you'll find that in chapter 2. Go and find chapter 2 and you'll discover a lot of things that many people, because we copied from our leaders, because we copied from our school teachers, because we copied from our managers, wrong forms of leadership, and therefore we have defined leadership wrongly through some of the things that I've talked about in chapter 2. In chapter 3 and 4, I addressed one thing twice. I addressed this thing twice. It is in chapter 3, it is also in chapter 4, and I call that personal leadership. Personal leadership, or in other words, a me leadership. Every leader must start from there. Before you attempt to lead other people, you must be in a position to lead yourself. You must be in a position to control yourself. You must be in a position to rebuke yourself. You must be in a position to control your anger. We all get angry. Don't try to demonstrate your anger to people because you are a leader. You may be surprised there are others that get more angry than you. You may be surprised that your anger is just 1%. There are people in your team that can be 100% angry. So don't try to show off your anger. If you are angry, manage yourself. If you are hungry, manage yourself. If you have lust in your body, manage your lust. Don't go around abusing women because they are under your leadership, abusing children because they are under your leadership, abusing men because they are under your leadership, abusing them sexually, abusing them in all forms of abuse because you have power. Learn to manage yourself. Learn to manage yourself. Actually, the Apostle Paul writes a lot about personal management. He says, if you want to become a leader, you must have self-control. If you want to become a leader, you must be able to run your own family affairs first before you go out and start to run the Church of Jesus Christ. He talks a lot about those. You look at how Paul writes about deacons, about bishops, about elders. The qualifications, all those, when you read them, they talk about personal leadership before you lead others. And that's very critical. And most of the time, most of us want to be super leaders out there, but we are not super leaders inside ourselves. Jesus spoke about something interesting. He says, you cannot remove a blank in one person's eye when you have a log in your own eye. In other words, self-manage. Remove this small thing first from you, self-lead. And then after that, you look at others and be able to assist others. We have so many leaders that are out there that have failed to lead themselves. And it's a pity many people follow them knowing that these people have failed in personal leadership. They failed to raise their children. They failed to take care of their families. They failed, in their morals. They failed in their integrity, in their finances, in every way. But because they are superheroes somehow, you find people following such kind of a person. I would like to think afresh if you're following such a leader. And I want you to think afresh if you are such a leader. And I challenge you to personally lead yourself in this book, chapter 3 and chapter 4. Chapter 5, I talk about the leader and corruption. The leader and something called corruption. In my language, the word corruption means something that is similar to rottenness. When you say corruption in my language, in my mother tongue, it's almost similar to something like rottenness. I want you to give me, as you are listening to me right now, what you call corruption in your language. How do you say corruption in your language? So the leader must avoid corruption, must avoid kubola, because the moment you are associated with that, then it means you are almost exactly what the word means. So corruption has different forms. It comes in various forms, and the most essential ones are favoritism. When you favor others because maybe they have more money that they are bringing in the organization, or they are whatever, they look like this, or where they come from, whatever race they are in, whatever complexion they are in, whatever height they are in. Nepotism, favoring your own relatives in a work environment, in an organizational environment. They don't have qualifications, they don't have paperwork, but they are promoted to be leaders because they are related to you. All those are forms of favoritisms. There are also bribes. Many leaders have fallen into the bribes disease, such that they will not do anything clean without bribing. They will not do anything without paying cho-cho. Cho-cho has killed the church. Cho-cho has killed the organization. Cho-cho has killed government departments. Cho-cho has killed companies. Because each time somebody wants to get something, they say, what will I get from this? What will I benefit from this? Before you give them services, before you do anything, you are required to bring something. And what was supposed to go for service delivery to the community is then shared amongst these leaders. Who use it for their own benefit instead of the benefit of the people. And I charge leaders in this book to be very, very careful about corruption. Chapter 6, I discuss mentorship and leadership. Mentorship and leadership. To mentor someone is almost related to coaching, but it's more of somebody looking at you, aspiring what you do, and in the process learning from you. It may be formal mentorship, it may be informal mentorship, but me and you need to be mentored, need to be taught something. I believe that Joseph, even if it's not written, I imply from what I read, I believe Joseph mentored Jesus to be a carpenter, because there is a verse that says Jesus is the son of a carpenter, and when you read in Matthew, you'll find that it says, is he not a carpenter? It means he had qualified to be a carpenter through the mentorship and the training of his earthly father, Joseph. And I always challenge other people in the business cycle to say, Jesus lived about 33 years. That's what we are told. And out of that, those about 33 years, he did only 3 years in ministry. So in other words, he did more of his life in business. And therefore business is very, very critical. It's very, very critical in ministry. Some people think that ministry is more critical than business. I beg to differ. They are all equal. They are all important. And we need mentors in business, mentors in leadership, mentors in ministry, mentors in career, mentors in government, mentors in civil society, mentors in music, mentors in arts, mentors in all areas of life, in science, technology, and innovation. So Jethro and his son-in-law Moses, we find a mentorship relationship there between those two. When Moses was busy trying to solve people's problems the whole day, there came Jethro and he taught Moses what is called delegation today. There's also Elijah and Elisha. We see a mentorship relationship. Actually, they say when you read, Elisha was not coming from a tribe or from a people that were supposed to be prophets, but he became mentored to take that role to an extent that he even acquired what he asked for, a double portion of the anointing through mentorship. So it's what we call nature and nurture in leadership. That some people are born to be leaders by nature, N-A-T-U-R-E, and some are nurtured, N-U-R-T-U-R-E, or they are mentored, or they are grown, or they are developed to become leaders. So it's not about that I was born a leader, I'm a child of a king, therefore I'm a king. Yes, maybe, but there are others that can be mentored or nurtured. They're nurtured with a N-U-R-T-U-R-E to become leaders. So mentorship is quite critical for leadership. Those that are already there and those that aspire to be leaders. Chapter number 7, we talk about the responsible leader. Why? Because there are many irresponsible leaders. And therefore, me and you that are leaders and you that is listening to me, who is in the leadership space, please try and attempt to be a responsible leader. And responsible leaders are those that put systems and structures in place so that people will work within that framework, but they also respect those systems and structures. Responsible leaders are those that are very, very important. Relationships with your organization, relationships with your members or your fellows. Actually, somebody said, relationships are more important than ministry. Relationships are more important than work. If your people realize that you have got a relationship with them, they will do far, far more for you. You must give them your heart so that they'll give them your hand. Or you must touch their heart so that they give you your hand. In other words, small things like greeting them, knowing how they are doing, how their family is doing, connecting with them, attending their funerals, sitting down there, eating what they eat, makes a huge difference to your followers. You have leaders that don't go to funerals, that don't go to if somebody is sick, they don't go, they just remote and send others to go. They want you as a leader. They want you, they say, oh, my leader was there at hospital to see me when I was sick. And you are touching their heart. And when you are touching their heart, they will give you their hand. They will work hard because you touch their heart. That's a responsible leader. So responsible leaders also build a culture, a work culture, an organizational culture. A culture that when you come in there, you say, let me stay here, let me not leave this place. Some bad organization cultures make people to be resigning every time and again. And some people enjoy when people resign. They say, they've resigned, they've gone, it means they were not ours. When people leave your church, you say, they were not ours. You quote that verse, they left because they were not ours. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the culture was not conducive. Maybe the responsibility of the leader was not enough to enable the people to stay. The value system, what is the value system of the organization? So responsible leaders create a value system. Let's go to number 8. Number 8, chapter 8 talks about when leaders lead. What happens when leaders lead? And in that chapter I put a statement that if you're not a leader, you rather just march out and leave leaders to lead. When leaders lead, we see changes. We know that there is a leader in this place. If you go to a bank and you have seen that there is no leader in this bank, if you go to a shop or to a store, these supermarkets, and you have seen that this supermarket lacks one thing, there's no leader here. So when leaders lead, it's visible, it's clear that there's a leader in this place. This place is led. Some people even remark and say, we are led. There's a leader in this organization. But if everybody is leading, or everybody is not leading, or the organization is leading itself, you also see. So leaders, please rise up and lead. Let leaders lead. Let managers manage. Let followers follow. Let's just do what we're supposed to do. That's what chapter 8 says. And then chapter 9 talks about the test of leadership. And in that chapter, we go into the scriptures and we discuss a man called the priest Zadok. And we look at how he was tested in his leadership role as a priest. And one of the tests, some of the tests that are there in chapter 9 are not only for Zadok. The first test of a leader is whether you will please God or man. If it's in a church, you are a leader, there's so much pressure from people, there's so much pressure to perform, there's not so much pressure to do things. Will you follow men or God? Sometimes people pressurize us, especially church leaders, to do certain things. Some even pressurize us to perform certain miracles. And therefore, because people want it, you do it for people, when God never said a thing about it. Will you follow principle, or will you follow popular opinion? This is a principle. This is what the constitution of the organization says. This is what the law of the land says. And this is what popular opinion says. What are you going to follow there? Popularity or principle? Are you going to follow haste decisions, or are you going to wait? Haste versus wait. So many leaders are pressurized to do things quickly. We want this thing to be done quickly. We want this thing to be done now. Give me now. Like the prodigal son, he says to his father, give me now my portion, not tomorrow, Father, give me now. And we're living in a time where people want things to be given to them now. And because of that, leaders get to be pressurized around the test of hasty versus waiting. God versus man. Principle versus popularity. Those are critical issues that the leaders must look at. They are tests of a leader. So leadership has tests. Just like in any school, when you go to school or to university, there is a test. So when you are a leader, I want to assure you, you'll be tested. It's not just about position, it's not about the role, it's not about the influence and all the things we talked about earlier. But they are also tests. And anyone who puts you into a leadership role and they don't tell you this, then they are not telling you the whole truth of the matter. Chapter number 10 talks about the pitfalls of leadership. What are those pitfalls? The places where leaders usually fall into a lot. The first one is self-belief. If you believe in yourself and you think you are their leader, you are their thing, and you can't be told by anyone else, you believe yourself, you are the book, you are the Bible, you are the author, you are the perfecter, you are everything, it's all about you, then you are in trouble. It's one of the pitfalls. Popularity, fame. And then the other one is isolation. When you isolate yourself, you don't want anyone else to say anything to you, you know it better. It's almost the same as the first one. And the other one is placing your leadership role above your family, above your wife, above your children. You are busy with leadership stuff every time, and you are not available for your family, you are not available for your wife, you are not available for your children. You're not even available for your extended family, your brothers, your sisters, your mother, your father is looking for you. You are all over, you are a big leader all over the world, but your father and your mother are crying. They don't have nothing to eat. You are sponsoring everybody. You are building mansions. You are building huge offices, complexes. You are driving everything. You are wearing the best clothes in town. But your mother, that woman that gave birth to you, and your father, they have nothing. Your brother, your sister. Pitfall of leadership. Then the last one, number 11, not the last one, last but not least, number 11, then we go to 12. The isolated leader. What happens to the isolated leader? I want to describe further the isolated leader. What happens to them? Usually moral failure happens. Moral failure happens to a lot of isolated leaders. No one tells you what to do. Then morals begin to creep in. Those issues of adultery, those issues of theft, those issues of fraud, those moral issues usually attack people that are isolated. I say in my book there, if you are solo, you will go so low, so down, and moral issues will begin to take their toll in your life. And the second issue around isolated leaders is burnout. You are isolated, you have no partners, you're doing everything, every time you burn out. And the third thing, there will be a leadership vacuum. When you die, or when you leave, or when you get old, because you are not grooming anyone, because there's no succession planning. The day you leave, because of various reasons that make leaders leave, there is a leadership vacuum. And that which you are doing for so many years just collapses. The other thing is that you become a control freak. You become a control freak if you are isolated. You start to control people. You start to tell people what to do and what not to do. You start to micromanage people. You just make people jump, leave their own homes, come and clean your home. Who said you can't clean your home? Yourself. You limit others' potential, you limit yourself. If you're isolated, you limit the organization. So those are some of the dangers that I describe in chapter number 11. And the last one, the last chapter, is called Leading Leaders. Leading other leaders. A lot of people are leaders of followers. But there is a space where you lead other people that are already leaders. You are a manager of managers. You are a boss of other bosses. Bosso ya di bosso. You are leading other leaders. Below you, these people that are below you are not followers. And therefore the style of leadership changes. Because you're leading people that already know, that already lead sections, that already lead units, that already lead divisions, that already lead countries, that already lead huge consortiums. And your leadership must change there. And what do leaders need when they are under another leader? Number one, I say they need resources. You must give them resources. You say, here are the resources, go and work. Here's your computer, go and work. Here is money, here is your budget. If you are leading the youth, here is your budget. This year, as a youth leader, I give you 1 million. You're going to see what you're going to do. Don't start to tell me what I'm supposed to go do. Just give me the resources and let me do what I'm supposed to do, because I am a leader. You hired me as a leader, or you gave me this role because you are confident that I am a leader. If you're not confident that I'm a leader, come do it. Why do you need me? Just give me resources and say, here is your 1 million. Lead the youth and see what I do. What do they do? Number 2, they need a vision. Put down the vision and say, here is a vision of what should be done, and leave the details and leave the operational issues to me, because I'm already a leader. Number 3, give me space. It may be physical space like my office, but it may be really space to think, place to innovate, place to think out of the box, place to call partners that I need to come and help me, place to grow this thing. You have given me this thing. I am a leader. Give me space to grow it. Because you are leading a leader, you are not leading a follower. Give me space. The next thing, give me freedom. Give me autonomy. And the last one, give me feedback. Have feedback sessions with me and tell me if I'm doing good, say you are doing good. If I'm not doing good, tell me you are not doing good. And after you have said you are not doing good, tell me what I should do to improve. There are people that specialize in saying you are not doing good, you are not doing good, you are not doing good, but they don't have alternatives. They don't have a way of saying, okay, you are not doing good, therefore if you would do this, things will be better. Don't be a specialist of negative criticism or negative feedback. Negative feedback is very good. It must be given. But once it has been given, there must be a way of saying, here are things that need to be improved, or here is how I suggest you need to improve so that I can improve. Positive feedback must be given. There are people that keep quiet when you are doing well. They keep quiet, they are silent as though they are dead when you are doing well. The day you do one wrong thing, they just come and shout and criticize and write and WhatsApp everybody and Facebook everybody. Why were you quiet when I was doing all the good things? Don't be a specialist in that. So feedback is critical when you are dealing with leaders. You must have feedback sessions. There may be formal feedback sessions in the form of meetings. There may be informal feedback sessions, whatever it is that is comfortable with you. But leaders need feedback. That's the book. And those are the 12 chapters. Get the book. Get the book and enjoy yourself. In a few hours, if you are a good reader, 2 hours or so, you'll be done with it. As I say, I don't write very, very, very long things, because I know the audience. I know the people that I'm writing to. And I know that you are busy, and I'm just giving you tips which you can really run with, practical tips that you can run with. That's why I call them principles and practices. So it comes from practical experience as a leader that I have been for a number of years. Thank you very much. I suppose and believe that you have learned something from this lesson today. If you want